Or the 200 views. Hey, ran up the stairs. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I'm gonna give a roll call.
I will. Councilmember Blush,
Here.
Councilmember Sherman.
Here.
Councilmember Gutierrez,
Here.
Mayor Nesco,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Schmidt, Councilmember Stearns.
Here.
And Councilmember Gilmore.
Here.
You're welcome.
Without having to lay things to the agenda. See, man, you got any changes?
Nothing tonight, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Council members have any board reports to share?
I have one board, two board reports. First, the Mason County Board of Health met on January 26th at 3 p.m. for about 90 minutes. We talked a little bit about there was a small spike in COVID in December. There was, the flu season was average, approximately 150 deaths statewide, so even though it's average, it's still killer. The flu shot has been matching with the strains and it's been effective, so you are advised to get one. And if you can't get one, washing your hands is still a very good method to not get the flu. The environmental health division talked about, there was a discussion about how best to incentivize landowners to be in compliance with water, sewage, septic, and what's the best way to have a little money available to help homeowners get up to code, or was it better to put liens on these properties? So that was compared to what happened in the situation at Railroad Avenue. What was the process of putting liens on the home and property? Was it difficult? Was it effective? So that was coming up, and they're going to talk in the future about what are the number of gallons you need to produce to start a development on your property. Another thing was the WIC is going to open up very soon, I think March 1st, and they're very excited about that. They're providing $86 per WIC family to use at the Shopper Farmers Market and to match for fresh fruits and vegetables. That was one of the things that they brought up. Also, I invited the community health band to make a presentation to the council whether or not we would like a harm reduction services inside the city limits. Because currently there are 4 stops that they have, but they're all outside city limits. So they might be asking the city manager for making a presentation to council about having the community health band, which is an outreach and not just needle exchange, but connecting people to services like medical and dental and housing services. Lastly, since about 53% of the people in this county need WIC, they were very much excited about having that opening. And that's it for that report. And then lastly, the cemetery district, they had a question about whether they can join the park SFPD. Thinking about connecting to the park system and what's going on with our rails and trails and getting to be part of that park system. Their finances are better since they got rid of some, since they reorganized, and they actually have money now to start working on projects. And lastly, they're having a big increase in the Guatemalan community purchasing lots up there. And they want to point out that they are still the lowest cost way and a very, very good way to in all of the neighborhood surrounding counties to have a space where your loved ones after they pass. So there's still a bargain in that way. And so they're looking to increase their income stream in the future, and they're thinking about things like pet cemeteries and different themed veterinarians. So that's our report for the cemeteries. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Eric, can I just,
Oh, sure.
last week during one of the study sessions, Eric had brought up a post that was going around on Facebook by one of our local police, Officer Pickens, and how he would been done something really nice for a young man in our community, and the mom went on there to say how cool it was And then when that came on there, it kept going where, hey, Officer Pickens helped me here, and hey, he helped me there. And that was a really cool thing to hear about from our police department, and that, you know, that they're out there making that positive impact in the community. And I just want to give a kudos to you guys for that, and think you guys are doing great.
Then want to review the item on the consent agenda. Alright, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda published. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Alright, committee, economic development director, Gabe Miller, report about grants.
You're fine. Okay. Absolutely. Join me.
We move back and forth. Thank you, Mayor, members of council. I'm here to talk to you tonight. Actually, I've got two items. They're going to follow right after each other about accepting grants for work on our long-range planning. The first of which is for our comprehensive plan. This is $125,000 awarded by the Department of Commerce to work on our plan. As I've been to you guys a couple times over the last 6 months about different phases of this process and where we're at. And we actually have been already, the work's already underway. Joined tonight by Aaron Qualls, our project manager from FCJ. He's been in town all day. We've driving tours. We met with the county. We just had a steering committee meeting. We're fully underway on this work and this grant acceptance from the state. It's non-competitively awarded money, $125,000. We just need signing authority to accept it to begin the reimbursement process for the work that we have underway. With that, we're looking for this to be advanced to action agenda at the next meeting. I'm happy to answer any questions about that.
Thank you, Jay. Don, public comment.
No, Mr. Mayor.
We have a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move forward resolution number 1313-0124 for the action agenda on February 20th. Next council meeting, February 20th.
Second.
All right, comments or questions? Motion and second for resolution number 1313-0124, the action agenda on February 20th, 2024. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Another item, J.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. So this is for additional grant acceptance. This is money that was awarded pursuant to House Bill 1181 last year. It required cities undertake climate change and resilience planning as part of their comprehensive plans. And so we have scoped out this item as basically a task order amendment with SCJ to add this into our comprehensive plan. So it'll be the same folks continuing the same amount of work. Have not begun this work specifically yet, although it's part of our comprehensive plan scoping. But there's an extra level of detail that needs to go into addressing the things that were identified in House Bill 1181. And thankfully, the state is giving us actual money to do the work that they're telling us that we need to do. So with that, I know I've mentioned this grant, and we received a letter of support from council last December about this, and we're looking for the authority to sign and accept the $150,000 from the state to begin the reimbursement for this work.
Thank you, Jay. Don, public comment.
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right, we have a motion.
Move forward resolution number 1314-0124 for the action agenda on February 20th, 2024.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to second for resolution number 1314-0124 for the action agenda on February 20th. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
All right. We have an ordinance related to general code charges, public work credit, Jay. There are details. Yes, we know. Oh, we can do it. We're set a regular meeting of the public hearing. Jay Harris.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council, Jay Harris, your Public Works Director. So general facilities charges are one-time charges for new developments, and they're for capacity improvements in the system. So they're not ongoing rates. And so properties that have already developed aren't charged general facility charges unless they redevelop the parcel. And they're used for capital infrastructure projects only. And I'll go over some of the projects in a second. And so those charges that were for new developments, are for future system projects. And they can also reimburse some past projects that were capacity projects like the city paid for, that sort of thing. So in 2004, the city commission at that time adopted the sewer and water general facility charges. And in 2021, council adopted the stormwater general facility charges. We just got done with the sewer and water comprehensive plans. That went through all of the capacity projects, the costs of the projects, and then what would be capacity eligible type of projects. Those were done, and then we went through the rate study. In the rate study, they took all the capacity projects, divided it by the number of future users, came up with some GFC rates that council eventually adopted for sewer and water. They adopted those rates in 2021 for the stormwater projects. So a few of these projects are in the sewer comprehensive plan. We have the Northerly Diversion Lift Station. I've driven some of you around. Hopefully you remember where that is. That's up at B Street and Olympic Highway North. That's a future lift station that's going to take all the sewer from that part of town and pump it up to the membrane treatment plant or the satellite reclamation plant. We have different names for it. It's up at Sanderson Field. And anyways, that will take a large portion of the city from going to the current plant into Oakland Bay and up to the reclamation plant, and then inject the water or into the spray field to help recharge Goldsboro Creek. So that's a capacity project. There's also a couple lift stations. There's one at Johns Prairie Port. So on the far side of town, there isn't sewer at Johns Prairie, the port facility over there, the lift station over there with a pressure line that comes back to the gravity part of the system here in town. There's a bunch of pipe upsizing projects in the older parts of town that are eligible for capacity improvement charges. Main wastewater treatment plan, the backup disinfection project that we're sort of starting on now, which will add a secondary train of disinfection to hopefully open up more shellfish areas, is a capacity upgrade project. There's a solids digester. That's one. We need additional solids handling building, and then a new gravity solids thickener. So we're a little behind on solids capacity at the plant right now. Those are all capacity eligible projects. Up at the satellite treatment plant, some filter replacements. We're going to go for higher capacity ceramic filters there, and which will like near double the capacity of the current plant in the current footprint. And then we're going to convert the spray field to dry wells to help take the water that's spraying out in the air right now, actually put it into the ground and save evaporation on that water. And then eventually there's a phase two. It's almost a $9 million project to actually add a bunch more filters up at that plant to take the capacity up to about 1.5 million gallons a day. Real quick on the water, there's a new well in there, some mountain view pressure zone improvements up there to take the dead storage out of the tank. We've been talking a lot about the Angleside pressure zone improvements. There's also a new Mountain View Zone tank and a new Angleside tank also in water. And then storm, there was some Canyon Creek flood projects. Some of those have already been done. The storm plan was from 2007. We're going to update the storm comprehensive plan next year and, get newer projects in there. So Canyon Creek flood reduction, my understanding is, parts of town used to flood a little bit from Canyon Creek. Some of those projects and bypassing and such have been done there. Some downtown stormwater capacity upgrade, other piping upgrade projects. And then East Mountain View, that there's about $1.5 million worth of projects up there to convey and collect stormwater up there that are also capacity eligible projects. So the GFCs have already been adopted by council. They're in the current rates. These are some of the projects I spoke of. The municipal code, though, needed to align a little bit better. The sections, especially in the water and sewer sections, weren't very robust. The city attorney went in and did some additions, made it similar to the 2021 stormwater code that we adopted at that time. So each section is very similar. They read the same. And then also, we updated some of our internal policies, mostly to add credit. So if a developer comes in and builds a sewer lift station, for example, that's a capacity project, we're receiving GFC credits for that. They should be eligible for reimbursement, and that was missing from the former policy. So the city attorney and I worked up that process, the application process, how the vouchers are issued at the time of building permits or when the general facility charges are paid. So the goal of all of this, though, is to try to get ahead of the capacity projects, ahead of development, right? So we don't run into problems like up in Angleside right now, where we don't have reservoir capacity and can't accept single family homes right now because we're lacking some reservoir storage, which we're working on, and hopefully will be under construction late this summer with that project. But the goal is to get ahead of all these capacity projects so we're ready for when development comes. So the new development pays for the new development to come, if that makes sense. That's the end of my presentation.
Donna, inside of public comment,
No, Mr. Mayor.
right, maybe reading ordinance for 2019-01.
Ordinance number 2019-0124. An ordinance of the city of Shelton, Washington, amending sections 13.04.220, 14.12.010, and 16.06.040 of the Shelton Municipal Code, and adding a new section 15.28.150 relating to general facilities charges for stormwater, water, sewer, and reclaimed water services.
Thank you, Donna. Do we have a motion?
So we're going to place ordinance number 2019-0124 onto the council's action agenda for further consideration on February 20th, 2020.
Comment, question? Thank you, Jay, for the background. This is kind of a housekeeping item, we've already adopted these rates.
Yeah, it provides more flexibility, I guess, in administering the capital improvements like Director Harris said, when somebody wants to build capacity and it, improves the availability to further development, they should be credited for that. And it gives us the flexibility to provide that in the future.
Always in favor of more quality and quantity of water for Shelton.
We have a motion to second, place ordinance number 2019-0124 on council action agenda for the consideration of refund. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now, our action agenda item J has information for us about the purchase of the water department.
Yeah, so the water department has a 2003 half-ton pickup. It's aging, and we currently have 3 of them. We want to rotate one out. We're trying to get on a more regular replacement cycle. Pickups, we don't put very many miles on them, and but they hold their value for the first 5 years, somewhere in there, and then they really drop off in value. This 2003 half-ton pickup, even though it has lower miles, is thousands of dollars, right? And so we're trying to get on a better vehicle replacement plan, buy vehicles, rotate out the newer ones, but get rid of the really old ones too. The shop is having issues putting in head gaskets, major engine rebuilds, transmissions, those sorts of things. That comes with the territory of 2003 pickups, right? So the pickup's down for weeks at a time. And luckily our master mechanic, Halen, is good at doing that type of thing, but we need reliable vehicles. And so the goal is to get a 3/4 ton 4x4 pickup, and that will help us get through inclement weather and use it for some other things. And we also have some sites with gravel roads and that sort of thing, so it'll work out quite a bit better.
Resolution number 1310-1223. A resolution of the city of Shelton, Washington, authorizing the city manager to sign a purchase order for the acquisition of a 2024 Ford F-250 4x4 service pickup to support water division operations.
Thank you, Donna. Do we have a motion?
Move to adopt resolution 1310-1223 to purchase a new Ford F-250 pickup for the water department.
Second. All right. Comments or questions?
What we're doing is rotating out older inventory from other departments. And so hopefully we can get we have a few 98s left. I know the parts department,
We're in good shape now.
you're in good shape now. Anyways, so we're taking care of the oldest or the most troublesome vehicle. So this 03 could be actually running pretty good, right? And maybe we have an 07 or 08 that isn't doing as well. So we're sort of rotating things around with a goal to be proactive and to get out of the older vehicle type of business if possible.
We're not adding vehicles to the fleet. There will be one that'll be surplus, and we surplus through Washington State Department of Enterprise Services. It's a good process for the city. It's pretty clean cut, easy. We get the vehicle to Tumwater. They do the sales on the vehicles and then issue the city funds as a result of the sale.
Motion second to adopt resolution number 1310-1223. Ford F-250 pickup for the water department. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Thanks,
Motion carries. All right, capital project manager Aaron Hicks for Ingleside Reservoir capacity upgrades.
On, it's on. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council. Honored to be here. Thank you for your time. If you recall, our last meeting, we accepted some grant monies from the Department of Commerce as it pertains to our Ingleside project, $1.8 million. I'm coming before you this evening. We'd like to move forward. As Jay expressed, this is a very high priority project for us, with the intent that we'd like to get stuff designed and constructed by the end of this, probably in winter time, we'll be constructing this thing, which is a better time to bid as well as construct, with the intent that we need to work on those deficiencies. So I actually talked to the council about this in December. This is our second touch or our third touch for this particular piece. What we'd like to do is move forward with design, architectural and engineering, as well as a component for some construction management for this particular project. This is a complicated project similar to like our number one project, and we need to have really good professional help as far as to make this project work. I didn't create a bunch of these. I'm just gonna kind of, when you guys are finished, please give it to Donna so that she has a record of it. This is an example of what we have to do to prove to the granting agency that we're ready to do this work. And basically it outlines it. The reason why I gave it to you is it kind of breaks down some of this costs. You guys are gonna say $350,000, Aaron, what the heck? The reality is that most of it at this point is all grant funded. There is no hit other than you're paying for my salaries, those kinds of things to make this happen. So our intent here is we'd like to get moving forward with design specs, those types of things so that we can get through permitting and hopefully construct in December or whenever, September through December of this year to get those improvements done. The other caveat to this is essential in the sense that we've been working with DOH. They are aware of the concern, and they are working with us to move forward with that. So very important project. I know it's a significant piece. You all should have a new updated resolution in front of you. I wanted to add, we needed to add a couple things. The reality is that we currently do not have this budgeted in our 2024 budget because we were debating projects, those kinds of things. So we'll need to come back and do a supplemental to add the 1.8 million for this year. So that needs to happen. The other thing is It's unfortunate. We have a grant manager that's brand new at Commerce and no offense against her, but we're the example for everybody else because we're first in the window. So it's that document that I gave you and then some as far as what they're requiring us to submit to them. So they have given us the okay to go proceed with the design work and we will be reimbursed. I will be bringing back to you in a month or so the agreement with them and they will reimburse whatever we spend before that happens. So I just want to make you aware that they do that with granting agencies. Sometimes we've submitted everything that we needed to do again and then some, and it's a good project. So that's really all I have. I will mention to you guys, I'm going to be bringing a TIB grant to you guys here, about $4 million for Olympic Highway, accepting those monies to get design on that done too. So more grant money. Kudos to Jay. Any questions?
Donna, anyone have public comment?
No, Mr. Mayor.
May we have a reading of resolution 1306-1223?
Resolution number 1306-1223. A resolution of the council of the city of Shelton, Washington, authorizing the city manager to sign a work order with BHC Consultants LLC to provide design and construction management services for the Ingleside Reservoir capacity upgrades in order to design water system improvements to help alleviate deficiencies.
Thank you, Donna. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, move to adopt resolution number 1306-1223 as presented.
All right, how many questions? Oh, sorry. How many questions? Nope. We have a motion to second to adopt resolution number 1306-1223 as presented. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Vote.
Thank you, council.
City Manager Mark, we put an information for about committee and board assignment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, council members. In front of you tonight is the updated council board and committee assignments that we went through on January 16th. So I'll leave it at that unless you have any changes or edits for me tonight to add to the list.
One second, public comment, Donna.
No, Mr. Mayor.
Do we have a motion?
Second.
Right. The comments or questions? Anybody have any comments or questions? Nope. All right.
When will the website need to be? Reflect
We'll work with Mary to get that done as soon as we can. Yeah.
That's all.
We have a motion and a second to approve the council board with the committee assignments as presented. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Right, Mark, do you have a city manager report?
You know, just a couple things tonight, Mr. Mayor. There's been a few agenda items added to the looking ahead that you didn't see tonight, so I wanted to address those tonight. One is an MOU with Mason County, and this is for the 0.09 funds, $125,000 for the Headworks project at the wastewater treatment plant. So an MOU will come to you in the business agenda on the 20th for consideration and action on the 6th. Mason County Garbage has approached the city with a rate increase and per their contract. Some rates can be approved per the contract initially based on CPI. There's other rates that they're requesting to be considered by the council per the contract. So we're placing that on the agenda for Mason County Garbage to come and present some rates that primarily deal with, I'll let them explain a little more when we get through it, but primarily dealing with costs due to increased fuel costs for their services. So that'll be placed on the agenda as well, the business agenda on the 20th. And then the approval of the final plat for Meadows Edge, the 36 lot subdivision off of Shelton Springs Road the Shelton Springs subdivision. Some people refer to it as the Spice Street. So if that's better. So they are completing their public infrastructure improvements, bonding some of those so they can get forward and start working through the building permit process and start building 36 houses there in the very near future. So they're interested in moving along fairly quickly, so we want to accommodate them if we can to get the final plat in front of council on the 20th and with subsequent approval, final approval on March 6th. So 3 items to be added to the council meetings in the near future, and that is all I have for you tonight.
You have to ask how was the trip to Mexico.
It was warmer than Washington.
Do you want to have any comments or questions? I had a question about, we surplus about 90 acres of property, I believe, a couple of years ago for a workforce housing project that never happened. What's the plan for that property? Are we going to sell that property? It's, I mean, it's surplus right now for residential use, correct?
You know, I looked at it briefly just the other day, didn't have much time to see if the surplus took effect. I found a draft ordinance or draft development agreement, I think that referenced future surplus of the property, but I haven't found an ordinance surplusing property. I need to look a little further into that. So I'm not sure if it was surplus specifically. We did do a segregation or boundary line adjustment that because it was all one parcel from let's see, yeah, Wallace Nealon Boulevard all the way up to Island Lake Road. So we did perform some segregation there. I found that information, but I'm not sure about the surplus. I know we've talked about it over some time about options, whether it's another, an RFP for proposals there, if it's selling it outright. It's a water fund property, so it has to benefit the water fund, not the general fund. But we're open to, staff's open to that further discussion at a council study session, if that's something you'd like to hear.
Or we can add it to new discussion tonight, talk about what we'd like to see that property. No, do that. And then we can bring it to a study session. If you have an idea, you guys want to bring that up tonight or? Well, I know, but you can direction of what we want to say.
Well, we can provide options. Again, we can come forward with options for an RFP or an outright sale or basically facilitating a similar project to what the council saw before, which is seeking out a builder or developer that would meet the goals of the council. So we can, I can work with staff to come up with any other options that might be on the table, I guess, for consideration.
So work session then down the road.
Okay. Great.
I have one question. I was reminded at the county board of health meeting that the city has a future local agreement with the county to turn over $17,000 to the existing $200,000 that the county already has. And Dave Wyndham was looking for suggestions on how we wanted to spend that opioid settlement.
Okay.
So I have what we see on the board, so that's about proportional, about 8.5% of it. So anyway, we have a say on how the money's spent, and so Davis Wyndham is going to put together some committees. He's going to talk to opioid stakeholders. He's going to ask around and put some meetings together in the near future about how we spend opioid settlement.
So those are funds from opioid settlement from Washington State. It was distributed to local jurisdictions. There was 2 settlements. I can't quote the exact amount of funds that were received. It was in the $17,000 range, I believe. The city dispersed those funds to Mesa County for use for treatment of, opioid epidemic and whatever else it might kind of come into play there. The last time I reached out to Mesa County, they hadn't spent those funds yet. So the second disbursement is still in city coffers and has not been dispersed. And what I've I guess communicated to Mesa County is we wouldn't disperse that until we had a plan for spending of the first allocation. And if that was something the council wanted to do with the second allocation, we could, or we could look at dispersing those.
What you would like me to represent on the board in that next meeting.
That actually falls on council, and that's where we actually decide. So
Yeah.
that would be on the housing board.
But we heard some options from Mesa County Public Health. Is that correct? Councilmember?
Expect Dave Wyndham to be reaching out and asking stakeholders how they want the money to be spent.
if it comes directly to me, I'll forward to council for comment.
Anything else? All right. This time, members of the public are invited to make public comment on any topic that's not listed on the agenda. Donna, anyone set up a public comment tonight?
Mr. Mayor, we don't have anyone signed up in person. Let me look here and see for Zoom. We have Colleen Carmichael.
Good evening, Mayor Inesco, Deputy Mayor Schmidt, and fellow council members. My name is Colleen Carmichael, and I'm the Executive Director of Quixote Communities. The Director of the National Institute on Drug Abuse, Dr. Nora Volkow, had this to say about addiction. As a society, we still keep addiction in the shadows, regarding it as something shameful, reflecting lack of character, weakness of will, or even conscious wrongdoing, not a medical issue warranting compassionate medical care. In fact, stigma remains one of the biggest obstacles to confronting America's current drug crisis. Last year alone, more than 96,000 people in the United States died from overdoses. Science tells us that changes in the brain networks needed for self-regulation cause substance use to become compulsive. We are also gaining an understanding of the genetic, developmental, and environmental factors that cause the brain changes underlying addiction. The National Institutes of Health have provided insights into the adverse effects of poverty and adversity on a developing brain, including neurobiological changes that make drug use and addiction more likely. Prevention research shows that providing targeted interventions to families with low incomes or individuals lacking social supports can avert these neurobiological changes. Targeted prevention can still help even once addiction takes hold, making it reversible and recovery achievable. Many communities fail to provide harm reduction measures such as syringe service programs and overdose medications like Narcan, out of a belief that those measures encourage illegal drug use, even though there's no factual data to support that claim. Sadly, even when treatments and other supports are available, people with addictions may not seek them, fearing the judgments of those around them. Stigma contributes to the tragic reality that fewer than 13% of the people with illicit drug use disorder received any treatment for their addiction. When we penalize people who use drugs because of an addiction, we suggest that they have a character flaw rather than a medical condition. Stigma includes painful social and emotional effects like rejection, isolation, and shame. Stigma drives drug use to alleviate one's suffering, which leads to a vicious cycle. Stigma is not alleviated solely by educating people on the science of the disease. Partly, it requires facilitating contact between the stigmatized group and the wider community. Addressing stigma must be part of our public health efforts if we're to end the current addiction and overdose crisis. We must treat combating stigma as no less important than developing and implementing new prevention and treatment tools. For more information, please visit www.stopoverdose.org. Thank you.
Please, silent, please.
Dean Jewett, lifelong Mason County member. I wanted to wait until after our Zoom presentation because it appears that every time somebody has a conversation up here, the individual on Zoom then goes after those individuals that spoke and or what they talked about versus what that person on Zoom wanted to talk about in the first place. So I guess turnabout, that's how I do it. I don't go to the computer and sit behind my desk and look for data. Data can be skewed. Whoever you get your data from can basically speak to whatever you want it to speak to. There's all kinds of experts out there. Okay, my expert is putting my feet on the ground and walking around our community and looking and seeing what we see every single day, real life. Okay, that's what I believe is what this community needs. Do you realize that there is 4 vacant storefronts right now? Why is that? Is that because the people chose a bad business model? Is that because the people didn't work hard? Or is that because we have a negative presence downtown that people don't want to come down and shop for? What are those? But those are things to put in the back of your head and wonder about. Okay, there's 4 or 5 vacant storefronts. That's not good for any community. I want to talk about the delay of our hearings examiner. So our hearings examiner was fired. It says unrelated, but you know, to me, that hearings examiner was let go for not performing. Okay, so now we have a new hearings examiner that's going to look at data and information that was presented to the first hearings examiner, or I should say the second hearings examiner. I call for a separate meeting with this new hearings examiner so that people can get back to the table and have those conversations to somebody that's going to actually make the decision, not being just looking at old data that's there. The city stands behind allowing Community Lifeline to increase their bed space. I believe that that is a bad call on the city's part and anybody here that makes that decision. We already know what happens downtown. You put 20 more people on the street because those individuals do not spend 24 hours a day in that shelter. If anybody's driven past Brewer Park over the last couple of weeks, we see an increase. Now, the last couple of days, because there's been complaints about it and things like that, it has actually gotten cleaned up. But why do we have to keep going on a roller coaster for this? These camps, Goose Lake was cleaned up. Maybe it had a part with the DOT. What are we doing about these camps up by the yacht club? Those individuals come into our city. So even though that's on county property, has anybody within the council and or city leadership stepped up to the plate and worked directly with the county so that we can have a cohesive approach to dismantling those camps? Thank you.
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Council, have any new items? I like to say that I, and Councilmember, Chairman and Councilmember, we all helped with the point time camp 2 weeks ago. Already. Yeah. I spent the better part of 9 hours out there on the street helping the nonprofits, and I want to say that I met a lot of people. I met a gentleman that has a job and a bank account. Separated from his wife about 6 months ago that cannot afford to live anywhere in an apartment or a house. That even if it was available, he could not afford to live in there with what he earns. I met some people that absolutely belong in some mental facility somewhere, and I believe that's our state problem. Our state needs to start helping us with mental illness some way, somehow. I don't know what the answer is to that. I met some people that were just lazy, that probably don't want to work, don't want to, be good citizens. But I'm telling you, it's not all street zombies. There are people out there that cannot afford to live in an apartment or a house, and you know, there are resources out there, and some resources are being expended already, and they're on waiting lists for some of these places. And you know, I think that we should all come together and see what we can do. Through legislation, delegation with governor's office, with federal government, and figure out what we can do to help some of these people. Our next meeting is scheduled Tuesday, February 20th, 2024 at 6 p.m. We have a study session 13th at 6 p.m.